Have you ever felt like your life is running on autopilot? Like you're a passenger trapped in your own body, watching a story unfold that you didn't consciously write? Have you ever been blindsided by an explosion of rage that erupted from nowhere? Or found yourself drowning in a sudden wave of sadness with no logical explanation? You scramble to rationalize it. A bad day, lack of sleep, work stress. But deep down, a terrifying thought whispers the truth you don't want to face. You are not in complete control. There's a hidden force operating within you, a silent puppeteer pulling strings you can't see, making you dance to a rhythm you don't recognize. The great pioneer of the unconscious mind, Carl Jung, gave this force a name, and what he discovered will explain exactly why you feel this way. In this video, we're not going to feed you superficial tips or empty affirmations. We're going to descend into the engine room of your own being. We're going to expose the single most powerful force that's been dictating your reality without your permission, your unconscious mind. Understanding it isn't just an intellectual exercise, it's the brutal and necessary truth that can transform how you see yourself. The central truth that can either shatter you or set you free was captured perfectly by Jung himself. He said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Let that penetrate your mind. Every pattern you can't break, every self-sabotaging behavior you repeat, every toxic relationship you keep falling into, you label it fate. You call it bad luck. You dismiss it as just the way I am. But it's none of those things. It's the unheard voice of your unconscious desperately screaming for your attention. Think about this for a moment. What you consider to be your personality, your reactions, your preferences, your automatic responses, these might not be as you think they are. What you think of as your personality is often just the visible tip of a massive iceberg. Beneath the surface of your awareness lies this vast hidden world. In the dark, freezing waters of your psyche lies everything you've buried, every memory you've pushed down, every emotion you were told not to feel, every trauma you thought you'd forgotten, every desire you were taught to be ashamed of. You shoved it all down into the darkness, hoping it would simply vanish. But it didn't vanish. It grew stronger. It became the invisible architect of your life. Now, you might wonder, how exactly does this hidden world communicate with you? How does something you can't see or hear manage to control your daily experience? Those seemingly random emotional explosions aren't glitches in your system. That sudden anxiety that seizes your chest isn't a malfunction. It's a desperate message from a part of yourself you've ignored, exiled, and locked away in the basement of your mind. The unconscious doesn't communicate in clear sentences. It speaks through symbols, sudden moods, haunting dreams, and those raw, overwhelming emotions that hijack your entire day. It's like having a prisoner in your own basement, rattling the bars, screaming to be heard. But most of us spend our entire lives pretending we can't hear the noise, simply turning up the volume on the distractions of the outside world. Think about it. Why does a simple, harmless word sometimes feel like a physical blow? Why does a certain tone of voice, a specific look from a stranger, or a memory that flashes without warning have the power to completely derail you, to shatter your composure, and flood you with an emotion so overwhelming it feels like it will drown you? The people around you are confused. They see your reaction as an overreaction. And you, in your shame, you probably agree with them. You label yourself too sensitive, too emotional, broken. But here's the truth. Nobody tells you. The trigger is not the weapon. It is merely the finger pressing on a pre-existing infected wound. Perhaps this resonates with you. Perhaps you're beginning to recognize these patterns in your own life. The wound we're talking about isn't something mystical or abstract, it's very real and very human. That wound is a piece of your past that you never allowed to heal. It's a moment of shame from your childhood you were told to just get over. It's a rejection you never fully mourned. It's a failure you buried under a mountain of forced positivity. You didn't deal with it. You didn't process it. You just pushed it down into the darkness, hoping time would make it vanish. You swept it under the psychological rug, and this is the landscape of your unconscious mind. It's a minefield of unhealed wounds. Each one is a raw, exposed nerve ending. When life, through a random word, a person, or a situation, accidentally brushes against one of those nerves, the pain you feel isn't the pain of that gentle touch. It's the accumulated, concentrated agony of the original wound, detonating all at once in your nervous system. Your instinct, your programming, is to blame the trigger. to get angry at the person who said the word, to avoid the situation that caused the pain. You spend your life trying to control the entire world outside of you, building walls, creating rules, walking on eggshells, all to protect these wounds you refuse to even acknowledge. It's a futile, exhausting war. You're trying to soundproof the world when the screaming is coming from inside your own house. Understanding how a single trigger works is just the beginning. When we zoom out and look at the bigger picture, we see that this mechanism doesn't just create isolated moments of pain, it shapes the entire trajectory of our lives. This is the mechanism of a single emotional trigger. But what happens when your entire life is built on this foundation of denial? What is the ultimate brutal price you pay for pretending that the prisoner in your basement doesn't exist? The consequences aren't just fleeting moments of pain, they're catastrophic. They become the very architecture of your suffering. The consequence of this denial isn't a single dramatic moment. It's a slow, corrosive poison that seeps into every corner of your existence, becoming the ghost in the machine that sabotages you from within. First, it hijacks your relationships. You become a moth drawn to the same brutal flame over and over again. The emotionally unavailable partner, the friend who inevitably betrays you, the boss who systematically tears you down. You swear each time that you've learned your lesson, that you'll never fall into this trap again. Yet here you are, making the exact same choices. Why? Because your unconscious mind isn't seeking happiness, it's desperately seeking resolution. It's trying to recreate the original crime scene, the foundational wound, clinging to the hope that this time, somehow, you can rewrite the ending. Your psyche casts new people in old, familiar roles, forcing them to perform in a play that began decades ago. You don't consciously choose these toxic patterns. Your wounds choose them for you. Your unhealed trauma broadcasts like a beacon, magnetically attracting the precise people guaranteed to reopen every scar. Second, it drives relentless self-sabotage. Picture this: you're finally approaching a breakthrough. The promotion is within reach. The healthy relationship is blossoming. The personal achievement is almost yours. Then suddenly, an invisible hand yanks the emergency brake. You procrastinate on the crucial project. You pick the one fight that destroys everything. You miss the make or break deadline. You say the exact words that burn it all down. It feels supernatural, like you're cursed. But this isn't a curse to your unconscious mind, fiercely protecting a buried belief system. Deep down, a voice whispers that you're fundamentally unworthy, not good enough, undeserving of success. When your conscious actions threaten this core programming, your unconscious will wage total war. It will incinerate your entire life just to prove itself right. Finally, there's that constant companion, the humming anxiety that never quite leaves. That low-grade depression that clings to you like a heavy blanket you can't shake off. This is the sound of an internal war. This is the soul-crushing energy it requires to keep all that pain, all that trauma, all those inconvenient truths buried beneath the surface. You think you're exhausted from your job, your responsibilities, your daily grind. The truth? You're drained from the 24/7 occupation of being your own prison guard. If this resonates deeply with you, if you're seeing your own patterns reflected in these words, know that recognition is the first step toward freedom. The fact that you can see these patterns means you're already beginning to make the unconscious conscious. If this video is forcing you to confront your own patterns, if you're suddenly seeing the invisible strings that have been controlling your every move, then you're standing at the most critical turning point of your life. The first step isn't to wage war against your unconscious, it's to learn its secret language. If you're ready to stop being a puppet and start understanding these urgent messages from your own soul, hit that subscribe button and join us on this transformative journey. So, what is the way out? The path is not forward, charging ahead with more force and more control. The path is down, down into the darkness you have been running from your entire life. Here's what Jung discovered, and what might be the most important truth you'll ever hear. You must turn and face what you have buried. You must be willing to sit with the pain you have spent a lifetime avoiding. You must learn to listen to the whispers of your own shadow before they become a destructive roar. Carl Jung gave us the map. He called this process integration. It's not about destroying the unconscious, it's about building a bridge to it. It's the courageous act of bringing the hidden parts of yourself into the light of your awareness. Not to judge them, not to fix them, but to understand them. To ask them, what are you trying to tell me? What wound are you trying to show me? What truth have I refused to see? This is the hardest work a human being can do. It's easier to blame the world. It's easier to numb yourself with distractions. It's easier to call your patterns fate and resign yourself to a life of quiet desperation. But stopping the flight from what's inside you is the only path to real strength. As long as you remain ignorant of your own unconscious, you will stay a slave to your own history, a puppet of your own emotions. The knowledge of your inner world is the beginning of true power. It's the difference between being a leaf blown about by the winds of circumstance and being the tree rooted deep in the earth, unshakable in the storm. The journey isn't about becoming a perfect person free of pain. It's about becoming a whole person, brave enough to embrace all of it. Your life is not fate. It's a reflection. And the power to change that reflection lies not in changing the world, but in having the courage to finally look in the mirror. I want you to make a commitment to yourself right now, a commitment to stop running. In the comments below, I want you to write, "I will face myself." It's a declaration. It's the first step on your journey to true freedom. This isn't the end of the conversation. This is the beginning of your real life, the life you were meant to live before fear took the wheel.